Hi, this is Pastor John. It's Thursday, July 9th, 2020. Through this time period, we're looking for a lot of answers to problems, a lot of solutions. And it may be an interesting time in history, perhaps not one we want to repeat or live through at the moment, but there are all kinds of answers we're looking for. Answers to the pandemic, answers from the medical field, answers to know what to do as far as meeting together and not catching a disease. We're looking for answers in the financial realm. How are we going to provide jobs and have businesses stay open, all those things. We're looking for answers regarding racial injustice or all kinds of political things, financial things, all around the world. There are those who will tell us that the answers can be found if we just turn to humanity and the best it has to offer. There are those who would say that if we just use the scientific method properly and we just use common sense shared humanities ethics, then we will succeed. And in the end, we are the only ones who can solve the problems and we're the only hope. And yet, how's that working out for us? It seems like the problems just multiply. We go from one problem to the next problem to the next problem, and from one philosophy to the next philosophy. Our ethics are certainly not shared worldwide or even within our own country. And I have to tell you, sometimes I think I don't have common sense, let alone the people around me. And yet, what does the scripture say about trusting in man? Let's look at just a few of the verses from the Psalms. First one is Psalm 20, verses 7 and 8. The psalmist writes, "Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright." There have been countries and nations and peoples, kings that have trusted their military prowess, their ability to make weapons and make warfare for generations and hundreds, centuries, millennia even. And yet, where have those countries gone? They've risen, they've fallen. In the end, there's been no nation to rise to the top and be the nation for all of world history. At some point, the United States will fall too, despite our military prowess and despite all the financial and economic things that we've done, it too will fall. To trust in power just does not work. The next passage I wanted to turn to was from Psalm 118, verses 8 and 9. The psalmist writes, "It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in man. It is better to take refuge in the Lord than to trust in princes." So often we place our trust in people. We think if we just get the right politicians in office who are good enough and smart enough to make the right laws and the right legislative principles, or the right judges to make the right decisions in our courts, then our society will get better. Well, again, how has that been working out for us? Things seem to be falling apart right now. And the decisions we've made, there's injustice, yes. There's racism and prejudice, yes. There are those things. They don't seem to go away, no matter how much we trust in people to solve those problems. Let me turn to one more passage, and that's Psalm 146, verses 3 and 4. "Put not your trust in princes, in a son of man in whom there is no salvation. When his breath departs, he returns to the earth. On that very day, his plans perish." The other reason we don't place our hope in the end in man is he can't help us beyond our life. Now, there are those humanists who would say, well, there's nothing beyond this life. That's why there's not much hope anyway. That's pretty despairing or distressing. And yet, we're reminded that our basic problem is sin and its consequences, death itself, and judgment. Man can't save us. No president can, no politician can, no judge can, no entertainer can. Nobody can solve those problems because they die, just like everybody else. If there really is any hope in this world, it's not in humanity. It's in a God who made heaven and earth, and in a God who sent his Son to die on the cross for the sins of his people. And in the end, who doesn't need to worry about his breath failing, who will be the same yesterday, today, and forever, and will be there always for his people. Place your trust in the name of the Lord.